Hello and welcome to Simon's Simple English. In this quick video, I'm just going to talk to you about part 1 in the Ielts and a myth that one of my students has said to me that was a little bit worrying. They said that part 1 doesn't matter, that it's just a warm-up. But this is not true. Part 1 in the Ielts speaking is part of the assessment. And it's as important a part of the assessment as the other 2 parts. So the assessment, or how the examiner will assess your English, is in part 1, part 2 and part 3. So it's not a warm-up. So they call it the interview and introduction. Okay, and yes, they're going to ask you for your ID and they're going to ask you for your full name and ask you what they should call you, that sort of thing. But they're also going to start asking you the questions, and that is when they begin to assess you. I recently did a course teaching me how to assess students for Ielts speaking. And in that course, they recommended that in the part 1, if you're assessing, you spend that time figuring out for each of the 4 different assessment criteria. You give a student a score. So maybe it's between 6 and 7 or 5 and 6, but you give them a score for each of the criteria, and then later on in the test in part 2 and part 3 you check the criteria against your initial assessment. It does matter. Part 1 does matter. As I said, I'm learning how to assess students. I'm not an examiner, but I have heard them say before that part 1 is very important. So you want to make sure you make a good first impression. First impressions in whatever are important. First impressions last. Also, make sure you know what sort of questions they're likely to ask and have some answers or some pieces of answers ready. They're going to ask you maybe what you like or what you don't like. They're going to ask you about your job or your study. And a very popular topic they'll ask you about is about your hometown. Anyway, I've got to go because I've got my next lesson. Thank you for joining me. It's very nice to see you. Good luck with your English journey, and I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.